Hey everybody and welcome back to Split Couch Games. I'm Scott and I'm currently very close to achieving Diamond in the Escalation playlist on Gears of War 4. I want to make a video giving some general tips for the game type for newer players or anyone trying to rank up before the end of the season. I want to start with a quick rundown of the game type for people who are brand new to Escalation, so if you've played the game type before, you can skip to the tip portion with the link in the description. Escalation is a 5 vs 5 game type where the goal is to be the first to win 7 rounds. Each round, there are 3 circles or hills that give your team points when captured. The first hill in your control will give your team 1 point per second. Capturing a second hill will give an additional half point per second. The first team to reach 210 points wins the round. You can also win the round by capturing all 3 hills at one time for a domination. Most maps will have a home hill for both teams and a neutral hill. Your home hill will be the hill that is closest to your spawn, while the neutral hill will be somewhere in the middle of the map. Unlike all the other game types in Gears of War 4, there are no weapons on the map to start. After each round, the losing team will get a chance to place a weapon anywhere on the map. There are some limitations on choices, but we'll get to those later. Furthermore, on each round, the respawn time, or the time that you spend dead after getting killed, gets 2 seconds longer. The first round you'll be dead for 10 seconds, the second round 12 seconds, third round 14 seconds, and so on. After the 6th round, the weapons are removed from the map and hill locations are changed, and the respawn time is reset to 10 seconds. If you're coming from a core playlist such as Team Deathmatch, it's important to keep in mind that the competitive playlists, like Escalation, use a different weapon tuning, so the starting weapons are going to be quite a bit weaker in this game mode. Now on to the tips. The first thing you'll want to do is figure out what type of player you are. If you're a Slayer and good at killing other players, you're generally going to want to be focusing your efforts towards the neutral hill at the start of rounds. Especially on the early rounds when there are no weapons on the map, hill control is the most important thing. You can be a little more aggressive because the respawn times are relatively low. Later on, you may have to make the decision of going towards a power weapon such as a boom shot, because boom shot control may be more important than the hill control. Earning an early lead by capturing your home hill and the neutral hill, especially in the early rounds, are very important. Not everyone is a Slayer though, and these players can take more of a support role. While a Lancer is a bit weaker than it is in core game modes, a support player can still help with well-placed shots and smoke grenades. Also, they can keep an eye out for flanks by either calling out over a mic or using the spotting mechanic. The third type of player is typically called an anchor. The anchor is in charge of capturing and maintaining control of their team's home hill. The anchor will need to be able to consistently win a 1v1 situation, or at the very least, kind of stall it out until they get help from their teammates, because they're going to be pushed after the first 20 seconds or so of the game and everyone kind of figures out where everyone is on the map. They're also going to need to be able to keep good map awareness and know whether it is safe for themselves to push across the map and try to capture the enemy's home hill. Like I said, the B hill is going to be in the middle of the map and that's where a majority of the focus is going to be, but a good anchor player will be able to skirt across the map and try to sneak cap the enemy's home hill. And these roles are not set in stone, and you should feel free to change it up based on your team's needs. And those needs can even shift within a single round. There will be times where I will play anchor, and once I see the map change, I will move into more of a Slayer role, and other times I will simply just sit there and Lancer for my teammates. It's really just whatever your team needs, but those are kind of where you can generally divide yourselves into and make sure that you're filling every role, or that your team is fulfilling every role. If you're the top player on the losing team, you're the one in charge of placing the weapon on the map. Too often, I see players mishandle this responsibility, and I highly recommend not placing the more powerful weapons down, like the boom shot, until later rounds. Early in the game, it's difficult to tell the strengths of the enemy team, and if you put too powerful of a weapon down, and they are able to easily pick it up every round, you're in for a world of hurt. When placing a weapon early in the game, I will usually try to block an area that the enemy team won easily. This denies them the ability to ever place a weapon there. Or I will try and put weaker weapons on secondary spawns. Secondary spawns have 2 places on the map, one on your side of the map and one on the opponent's. The strongest weapon that can go here is the longshot sniper. I tend to avoid that because it's possible that the opponent has an incredibly skilled sniper, and your team will be put at an immediate disadvantage because you're not able to stop them from picking it up. If it's later on in the match, I will try and place power weapons in places that we have been winning fights. This should mean that we will have power weapon control, and even if we don't necessarily win the neutral hill right away, we're able to use the power weapon to take control of that. If we are always losing the neutral hill fight, I will try to put the power weapon on the other side of the map as far away as possible, because that will force the enemy team to make a decision. They will either have to fight for the power weapon or fight for the home hill, or the neutral hill. If they decide to fight for the neutral hill, we're able to take the power weapon and, like I said earlier, take back control of the neutral hill. When capturing a hill, it's important to keep in mind that you don't need multiple people to capture that hill. From what I can tell, it doesn't make the process any faster having more than one person in the hill. There might be a slight speed increase, but it's really negligible. Way too many times I see 3 or 4 players all capping the same hill. And while they will individually earn points, the team isn't gaining map control. It's important to spread out in Escalation, and having too many people in one hill is the exact opposite of that. If your teammate is capping, then move on to another objective. You'll lose out on some personal points, but you'll be helping your team win the game. And if you're defending a hill, it's usually better to set up a ways in front of the hill. A majority of players attacking a hill will throw smoke grenades onto that hill, and you'll be stunned anyways. But setting up in front will force the fight to happen earlier than the opponent would like. And if they use their smoke grenades to push you out of that area, you can fall back and defend the hill while they have fewer resources. If you're winning later in the round, your opponents are going to have to make desperation pushes. Setting up away from the hill, but still on their path to that hill, will force them to make a decision. They'll either have to fight you, which takes time they don't have, or they'll have to try to move past you to get to the hill. If they try to fight you, it's important to keep in mind that you're not necessarily trying to win that fight, you're just trying to keep them from getting past you easily. And if they just decide that they need to try to get past you, it's usually, if you're well positioned, you have very easy kills coming towards you. The last thing I want to say is that if your team loses the first few rounds, please don't quit. Escalation is a long game, each round is new and different, and especially once you get past the halfway mark, a lot of times you'll see that one team will dominate one side, either being up 5-1, 4-2, something like that, but then absolutely fall apart on the other side of the map as your team just fights that side of the map better. So please stay in the game, don't punish people by making them fight 4v5. It's really just not possible, no matter how good you are. Having that one player is such a huge difference, so please do not quit. These are just some basic strategies that can make the difference between winning and losing an Escalation match. A majority of players that I've seen online don't do these little things. If you can incorporate them into your gameplay, you'll win a lot more games of Escalation. I can guarantee that. If you have your own Escalation tips, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time on Split Couch Games.